Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with the 30th Foodie Book Tag. I want to thank everybody that took part in the 30th Foodie Book Tag poll. We had votes come in through the comments of the poll video on Facebook, and also from our patrons. Patrons that voted through Patreon, their vote counted for 3. The winning theme was spice, so for this 30th Foodie Book Tag, I present to you the Spice Book Tag, and I created 10 questions based around different kinds of spice, and without further ado, let's get started. The first prompt is salt. If you were an English teacher, what would you teach to add an engaging taste to your class? And I would probably go off of things that I was taught in my classes in order to become engaged. I could incorporate something that was more casual, but I think that works like Howl by Allen Ginsberg. This is the Howl is the poem that really got me into delving deeper into poetry. I thought that poetry was a bit restricted, but when we went over Howl in Dr. Bordelon's American Literature 2 class, I realized that it doesn't need to be clean or restricted in order to take off as poetry that can be not just admired, but studied in a scholarly way. And the other one is going back to high school and the complete tales and poems, but more specifically selected works of Edgar Allan Poe, are worth going over, because I think that he is accessible and engaging enough for students to be able to easily enjoy. They will be able to find something that works for them. The next prompt is black pepper, a classic that leaves a lingering aftertaste. And for that, I'm going to go with Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And the reason I choose this one is because this was very long, it was very grueling, it was very dense. I thought that shorter works were able to do something of this nature and come off with a better result, namely The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. But I just felt that Raskolnikov was a very... I just felt he was somewhat irritating, and I didn't find any justification in his actions, thus there was no remorse on my end. The next one is Crushed Red Pepper, a writer that fires you up. And today I'm going to go with Kurt Vonnegut, because he fires me up on all different angles. He fired me up with Timequake because it was such a bad work that he presented such a good idea and ignored it to just ramble on about whatever he wanted. And that it fires me up in a way of anger. And then when he wrote Harrison Bergeron, that was a very thought-provoking work, and a very creative work, and he really pushes buttons as far as tyrannical leadership is concerned. So that fired me up in another kind of way. So Kurt Vonnegut knows what to do in order to fire me up. Next is Paprika, a writer that can be mild and intense with their writing. And I'm going to revisit somebody that I just went over before, but I am going to show you another book. The writer's Edgar Allan Poe, This is Tales of Mystery and Madness, illustrated by Gris Grimley, that I got as a Christmas gift oh so many years ago. And this includes The Black Cat, The Mask of the Red Death, Hop Frog, and The Fall of the House of Usher. Even though a lot of your Edgar Allan Poe works are works of horror, he does dip into other genres. The Manuscript Found in a Bottle is more of an adventure piece. The Murders in the Rue Morgue is a pioneering work of the mystery genre, and Annabel Lee is more of a romantic ode, somewhat reflecting the young woman that he was in a relationship with that died prematurely. Next is Nutmeg, a genre or category of writing that is great in slight amounts, but overwhelming when overdone. For me, it would be poetry, as far as categories are concerned, because that particular category really engages me. I really enjoy reading poetry, but I often find myself dipping in and out of different collections when it comes to poetry. I would like to read more throughout, and that's something I would like to attempt to do a bit more frequently, but it is something that I'll find myself dipping in and out more often, because I think that makes me feel more engaged. I just don't want to be glancing over, and it's especially rings true when it comes to contemporary. Next is Cinnamon, a cozy work about an intense subject. For instance, a murder mystery would count under this category, and my answer falls under the category of a murder mystery. In fact, it is a murder mystery series, and that is the Rabbi Aviva Cohen series. There has since been a box set where these look much similar to one another. They're all part of the same design, but I have the old school copy. I got Hanukkah Gilt from Barnes & Noble. I got Unleavened Dead as an advanced review copy. And I believe I got Yom Killer as the same. If anything, I got it as early as possible. I believe it was advanced review. But this series is really engaging. It really is honest. And I think that Rabbi Aviva Cohen goes off the beaten path in the way that you could say that she's interfering, but she really makes a difference as far as her involvement within these events are concerned. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. I believe there's 2 more. Next is Garlic Powder. What are your thoughts on Sparknotes? And the inspiration for this question is the fact that garlic powder is easier to use and has more of a taste than general garlic, but yet garlic is more natural, more nutritious. It has a good taste on its own. I think that both mutually, but garlic powder is often the easy way out. For me, I will say that it is not an academic source. I think that students are better off using things that are more proven to be scholarly. The primary source is your best bet, but well-researched information would come next. But if people want to refer to it when it comes to finding the answers to particular questions, or they want a sense of clarification, or if they want to just compare information. I don't have an issue with that. And I personally feel that people should study whichever way that they wish. The one concern that I have is that I have heard of teachers and instructors that have used Sparknotes in order to compose their tests, and I do not agree with that. I think that that's not the right way to go about putting together an exam. And I mean, for the students, it makes it much easier for them to know what they need to study, and it's just them practicing an already constructed test. Next is Turmeric. What is the most yellow book you own? And I have quite a few books that are pretty yellow, but I don't think anything beats Elizabeth Bishop's collection of prose. This is her complete collection of prose. It is a complete yellow background, and just the text is a different color. This was edited by Lloyd Schwartz, and I was only going to get the collection of poetry, but this was it was 90% off when I came across it, so I had to pick it up. And eventually I was going to pick it up because I would have wanted to have as much possible that Elizabeth Bishop has written. Next is Chili Powder, a difference-making character in a work. And I'm going to refer to something that I just finished recently. And that character is Elliot Stryker from The Eyes of Darkness by Dean Koontz, because I felt that he was a relatively well-fleshed-out, multi-dimensional character in a work that was filled with characters that were a bit more one-dimensional and cliche. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in my review, which comes out in 2 weeks. But Elliot Stryker from The Eyes of Darkness is my answer. The next prompt is Cardamom, a work that can directly relieve you on a bad day. And for that, I went with The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende, because when people talk about their love for reading because of escapism, this is the ultimate definition, because the central character, Bastian, reads this never-ending story in order to escape, and becomes immersed to the point that he becomes a part of the adventure. And you get so much out of his experience, and how it's reflective of an experience that anybody can have, very much like an epiphany. And this book is fantastic. Next is, what is your favorite spice? And I would say that it all depends. I would say salt is a spice that I like, but I haven't really used it as much as I used to, because a lot of things have salt or sodium within it as it is. I like to use... I know that when I get plain pizza, I like to add some spices to it, such as Italian seasoning, oregano, parsley. Sometimes I use garlic salt, but I will often use Pecorino Romano cheese instead. And finally, who do you tag? I'm going to leave a list down below to the people that I tag or nominate to complete the tag. I'd like to have a list of 30 people, because this is the 30th Foodie Book Tag. And in addition to the 30 nominees that I have listed below, I also nominate any Literary Gladiators contributor to complete this, be it on this channel or if they're a booktuber on their own channel. But I may also list people that have booktube channels and are contributors on the list. And I also want to nominate anybody that is going to be completing their booktube newbie tag between now and next Monday, January 24th, 2022. Thank you for tuning in to the 30th Foodie Book Tag, this Spice Book Tag, and I can promise you that we have a lot more content in store. If you like what you see, I highly encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more content. Please give our video a good old like. If you want to talk about this video a little bit more, feel free to do so in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Conversations are something that I miss doing in the booktube community. I'd like to engage in some more. That's among my favorite parts of being a booktuber. And if you really like what you see, I highly encourage you to support us on our Patreon, for the money that we make will allow us to provide you, the viewer, with even more content, and also provide patrons with even more exclusive content. Thank you for tuning in, and for now, keep reading.